Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a guest with me, someone in Kolkata who needs no introduction. I have with me Meghdut Roy Chowdhury. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
First of all, I would like to congratulate you for making a project like Make Calcutta Relevant Again. I have been following it for a very long time, and I think that project of yours has a lot of potential to offer, especially in the realm of entrepreneurship when it comes to Kolkata. I have a few quick questions for you.
Sure.
First of all, as you know, most of the students who watch my channel are students who are pursuing their undergrads or postgrads. So how far do you think should one pursue their education if one's primary goal in life is to become an entrepreneur?
I think education is unmistakably the greatest investment that you can make in your life. And irrespective of if you want to become an entrepreneur or an artist or a singer or a dancer, whatever it is that you want to do in your life, I think your education still plays a big role, because not only does it help you get acclimatized to the world of academics and to the world of discipline, because I think education is a very disciplined art. You've studied in multiple institutions of repute, and I'm sure you'll appreciate the things that it teaches you outside of the classroom as well.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, I think it gives you a good fallback option in case things don't work out in life. I think for that reason, especially in a country like India, at least a basic be it an engineering degree or a bachelor's degree that goes on to support something that you can get your family to support you later on, or for you to support your family. I think that's always a good investment option. So always 100% focus on your education, and you can do things parallelly as well while you're at it.
As a successful entrepreneur who has made it in Kolkata, what would you say is the status of entrepreneurship in Kolkata at this present moment?
Actually, I don't think I've really made it anywhere. And on the flip side, I think I've made it in a lot of places, and not just in Kolkata. My first company that I started was in Kolkata, but the second successful company that I'd launched was in Silicon Valley. I've launched companies in a lot of other places as well. And for me, it's not a space specific thing. It's just I really like building stuff. I don't like running stuff as much as I like building them, which is a problem. It can be a problem, I think. But I'm an ideator, right? I like ideating. I like building teams. I love infusing energy into projects. I think that's kind of like my skill, and I think I love sort of building and then getting other people to operate. I've done that fairly successfully with quite a few projects. I think for me, this is where Make Calcutta Relevant Again as a campaign sort of bore fruit, because it goes far beyond just the idea of entrepreneurship, but it's just for getting people to believe in themselves again in the city of Calcutta. Because even if you look at the way that Calcutta has shaped up in the last few decades, we've seen a lot of outflux of potential. A lot of people
Absolutely.
have left, and some of the most talented people in all kinds of disciplines, they've been from Calcutta, but they've left and gone on to start their projects elsewhere. So I want to make that change and bring these people back to Calcutta. For one, I'm just really biased towards this city, and I want to I want to be somebody who at least contributes into the best of their ability. And hopefully we have some very interesting things lined up for Make Calcutta Relevant Again as a project. And I think we might have to change the name at some point, because a lot of people have been complaining about the fact that it's not more Bengal centric. Like, I think we need to increase the scope of it, but I guess we got to start somewhere. It's more iconic. I think Calcutta stands for a bigger part of Bengal, and I think if through this we are able to nurture better talent, get more people to come back, and it's not just about for them to start entrepreneurship journeys, but also to get involved in interesting entrepreneurship journeys. That is also very exciting. You're going to learn a lot more by being part of a 3-member team, as part of a tiny startup that gets out of a garage and then goes on to have huge potential later on, than you will be being part of a 1,000-member team in a massive multinational corporation. So it's not just to start something, but also to join something early on, because you handle a lot of different roles. Like somebody who joins a company at a very early stage also takes on the roles. You can join in a marketing role, but you might end up doing a finance role, an audit role, an accounting role. You're doing communication at the same time you're talking to potential funders. You end up becoming an all-in-all at any, at the beginning of any company or any project for that matter. It could be like a YouTube channel or like, I don't know, an influencer network or whatever it is that you choose to build. So I think it's just about bringing people back, and then the city will flourish. We're still awaiting our first unicorn from the city of Calcutta. That's something hopefully through generating, I mean, I don't know if I'll be the person putting it out, but I definitely want to be responsible for, in some way, and even 0.01% of the way, in creating part of that team or that ecosystem which would lead to Calcutta's first startup. And I think first unicorn startup, and I think that one startup will eventually end up putting a lot of these jigsaw puzzles together and formalize this ecosystem, and good things will follow.
Absolutely.
We've seen it in other cities as well. I mean, sorry to elucidate on that fact, but even if you saw like Paris, I think, or all of France for that matter, 4 years ago had just one company or two companies, I think, which were unicorns. And I think since Macron took over, I think we now have 11 or 12 star unicorns in the last 3-4 years. So I think even for a small country like that, if that's possible, I think we can compare that
do
just
much
to
better.
Yeah, we can probably do much better, like in sitting in Calcutta with a lot of very, very smart people. So I'm hopeful.
The next question is, what would you say are some absolutely necessary skills that a successful leader must have?
Grit, resilience, the drive to just like not become complacent. I think that is the most important one, because you give somebody a house, you give somebody like a comfortable shade above their heads, you give somebody food, you give somebody a partner that that they feel that they are well connected to, and a steady inflow of cash at the end of the month, and you have the risk of making them complacent. And that's what happens to a lot of people. The moment they become a bit successful, they lose all the drive to do something which goes beyond what their capabilities are. So I think complacency is the biggest sin that an entrepreneur can have, or any successful person. And I, for one, that is like my biggest goal in life. It's very easy to get complacent. It's very easy to get okay with where you are. So that's something I would like to avoid.
So you are saying that progress is always the key to making something big.
No, just waking up in the morning and looking at yourself in the mirror and going for it every day. Every single day of your life. This is not my words. I think if you ask any successful person, they'll probably tell you, and I'm not even that successful. I think if you ask somebody who's built like, I don't know, 3 massive companies, or people who run governments, or people who run entire cities, mayors, chief ministers, prime ministers, go ask everyone, they'll say the same thing. You just have to wake up with that intent that yesterday was not as good as what I want today to be. So tomorrow is going to be even better than what today was. So,
yes. So my question is, would you say that learning a universal language like English is an absolute necessity, or is it like an added bonus for someone who wants to make it big in their lives?
See, irrespective of which angle I take on this question, there's going to be somebody out there who's going to hate me for it. So I'm going to take the easier way out. I'm going to say, in a truly globalized world, the world that we live in right now, it's very important to be able to speak one language in which you're able to conduct business and commerce almost anywhere in the world. It's important for that. But having said that, it's very important to also not forget your mother tongue. I have a very particular and very strong message for anyone who's watching this video. I think I've said this before as well, you cannot forget your mother tongue and where you come from, because that sort of forms your core personality. And without our core personalities, we are nobodies, right? So we're just another cog in the wheel. We're just another slave to the world, which wants us to adapt ourselves to the way that it wants us to lead our lives. So I think it's very important that we also speak one universal language, but don't forget where you come from. So
I have seen your Indo-French singing Sundays on Instagram, YouTube, and literally all over the internet I have seen it. Now let me ask a little bit of a controversial, not a controversial, but a question which I have found myself wondering over a long period of time. Are STEM students somehow better suited for converting a startup into a full-blown business?
Don't agree at all. There is nothing to do with STEM. I think every startup has, it's like saying, I don't know, is a non-restaurateur, somebody who has no experience in restaurants better suited to run a restaurant than somebody who's had experience in the field of restauranting for the last 30 years of their lives. Obviously, the person who's done restauranting better will have a better chance of success. But having said that, a startup also does not only depend on tech. There can be startups that are in art or in culture or in history, and also even within one startup you have requirements of so many different profiles of people. You need business guys, you need designers, you need tech people, you need communicators, you need people who are going to be hustlers and talk to investors, you need people who are going to be standing on stage and convincing people that this product or service is good. You need different people for different jobs. Just the way that you can't expect a fish to climb a tree, you can't expect a tech person to build every strong startup. This is slightly problematic in the tech bubble that we're seeing now, because there's so much money being thrown into tech businesses because they're highly scalable, because people see a lot of returns. VCs, investors see a lot of returns in tech businesses because there's much shorter periods of return on investment. So that's why most of this money goes to people from the IITs, for example. But you also need other kinds of people. I believe in multidisciplinarity a lot. I think in the world tomorrow that our kids are going to inherit, we need people to know a lot of things more than the STEM. I mean, even if you're from STEM, if you do not understand philosophy, if you don't understand economics, if you don't understand history, if you don't understand context in general, how the world works, you're not going to get very far. Success cannot be a marker. I mean, just because you raised a couple of $1 million in investment does not make you successful in any way. You're going to burn through that cash before you realize, and you're going to be back to where you began. So, focus more on learning, about how the world works, and I think that's what's going to get you to be successful. And it's not a controversial question at all. I think no one particular subject students is better suited at building anything than any other thing. You have to be where you want to be and where you aim to contribute the most towards the organization. So
thank you. Next is, how far is a social media presence important for, say, a budding academic or an entrepreneur in 2022?
It can be both ways, right? I mean, I think it's important for building a personal brand if you believe that you are the face of the brand. I've known a lot of very reclusive entrepreneurs who are super successful. In fact, some of the most successful people in the world are the ones we have absolutely no idea who they are. And most power in all the power lobbies in the world are held by people who are absolutely completely under wraps and nobody knows who they are. Because being incognito has its perks. But having said that, in today's world, I think if a lot of startup founders are trying to make themselves extensions of their brands, even if you look at like Shark Tank, you saw Aman, how he sort of talks about the brand as boat, and he's kind of the representation of the brand as well. So I think a lot of people are doing that more and more, and that's one way of going about it. I think it's good to have a personal brand. It's not the end of the world. It's not also a precursor for success. You can have a successful brand and not be a successful entrepreneur, and vice versa. So depends on what you do with it.
Actually, the reason I'm asking this question is because, see, the students often have a very short attention span, right? And they are the ones who often use these social media platforms a lot. But I have used this platform to, spread awareness about academic opportunities, this channel that you're now kindly giving an interview for. All of this is part of my social media. So I think in this context, would you like to comment on how, for students, for many of whom might go on to become potential entrepreneurs in the future or might go on to become something completely else, would you advise them to have some kind of control over the social media, or would you like to...
You do you guys, like really, let me not be the person to judge what you do. I think I have passed that age where you should be taking that advice from me. I think I'm not that relevant anymore. I think I'm on the other side of my 30s. You guys, there's so much to learn. I've learned a lot from social media. I love it. I love memes. I'm connected to every meme page of any importance on the planet, perhaps, and I learn a lot about current affairs from there. That's my relationship with social media. I'm good at communicating with people over any kind of media, for that matter. So I use it to my benefit. I use it to communicate about my ideas, my visions. Use it as a sort of test case, sometimes as a litmus test as well. And it works for me. If it works for you, go ahead. There's nothing called wasting time. I mean, of course, if you're spending all your time instead of being focused and wasting it on TikTok, perhaps not the best idea. But if you're making money creating videos for TikTok, that's probably a good idea. And if that's what your vision is, then go ahead. More power to you.
In this context, I would like to mention that I contacted Sir over Instagram, and he was very kind to send me a reply on the very same.
I try to reply to as many people as possible, but it's not always.
So the last question for today is, how far is a consumption of literature, be it fiction, non-fiction, or any generic kind of literature, important for people who are not from a literature background?
See, we live in a world where 20-second, 30-second reels have more importance than anything else, right? It's almost become a rare art. Libraries are it almost feels like a lost cause. Thankfully, we live in a city like Calcutta, which hosts the world's biggest book fair. We have so many literary meets happening here. I was just at the Kolkata literary meet the last week, and I still find so much beauty in poetry. I find beauty in literature, in prose. I've been an avid reader all my life. I mean, now I think because of social media, sometimes it would happen that I'm going to read like a 20-page summary of a book because I really want to read the book and I don't have time. And it's happened like that, and I'm guilty as charged. I'm sorry, I'm not the best role model for all you lit nerds out there. But sometimes it's about getting the concise version of certain things as well. I think it builds character. I think if for nothing else, reading a good book, taking and crystallizing all of the information you get from it and then using it in your life, that can be a life-changing experience, not just for you, but for the person you're having a conversation with. Some of my best conversation starters to my best, party conversations have been because of the books I've read and because of the information I've amassed. And I think it's important for that. That's how I use my literature information. A lot of them, I've also seen books and seen movies from books that have been adapted. And I think or even from games like, for example, the Witcher series. I don't know if you've seen the Witcher series. Where Henry Cavill plays the Witcher. That came from a game, right? And I have a lot of respect for that. I mean.
But there was a book for that as well.
Exactly, right? So it all gets a book, a game, and a TV show. So in whatever way knowledge and information flows, and be it fiction, non-fiction, just be updated, guys. It's not just about literature. Just soak in as much information you can. There's so much information out there in the world. Process it and use it for your own benefit, because it's like a massive tool in your artillery kit. If you're able to use it for your next job interview, if you're able to use it for your next conversation, or maybe to meet the love of your life, whoever, I hope it helps in some way or the other.
Thank you so much, sir. Would you like to end this video with some pieces of advice for my viewers?
Well, I hope you don't neglect your educational journeys. I think this is something that I have always held sacred. I come from a very, very educational family, which was able to turn around the face of this state that we all love, of West Bengal, purely through education. And I come from a family which had nothing and went on to do this purely because of education. So I believe that education is truly the one transformational industry in our that is available, and it's fairly accessible. It's become so much more accessible to everyone else. Even if you can't afford a formal education at a private institution, doesn't matter. There's government institutions, and most importantly, there's so much tech-led education available right now. And also, education does not stop at your college level or your school level or at your PhD level either. In fact, I'm somebody who is a big proponent of getting yourselves educated every single day of your life. So if you're able to do that, I'm sure you will reach the pinnacle of whatever term as your markers of success. So all the best, and I wish you guys a very successful journey on education and entrepreneurship, whatever you're doing, and hopefully you'll join me on this crusade to make Calcutta a little bit more relevant again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.